Good evening. My name is Helen Anthony. I'm the chairwoman of the City of Providence Finance Committee, and we're calling this meeting at 5:30 p.m. Tuesday, March 7th. It's a regular meeting, and we have today with us Donna Polesian from the clerk's office, Julie Blanco. Thank you very much. Nick Frame is here for subbing in for Kenny Cheverini. We have Gina Costa, our auditor, and many other guests. Thank you for coming. Would you please call the roll?
Chairwoman Helen D'Antoni.
Present.
Vice Chairman Juan Pichardo is absent. Councilman James Taylor.
Here.
Councilor Sue Engelbach. Here. Councilor Miguel Sanchez.
Here.
We have 4 present, 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. With the permission of my committee, I'd like to take out of order agenda items number 6 through 8. I'd like to hear those first and a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is approved. Madam Clerk, will you read item number 6 into the record?
Item number 6, communication from His Honor the Mayor dated February 13, 2023, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant sections 302B and 605, the Providence Home Rule Charter of 1980, as amended and Public Law Chapter 4550, sections 1 through 31st, passed in 1987, he is this day appointing Napoleon E. Askey Sr. of 14 Newport Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02904, as City Sergeant, and respectfully submits the same for your approval.
Thank you so much. Mr. Askey, how are you this evening? I was wondering if you could come up to the table and we will swear you in. If you just stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Welcome back. And please state your name for the record.
Napoleon E. Askey Sr.
Thank you so much. Have a seat. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming to the Finance Committee. I'm just wondering if you can tell us just a little bit about yourself and about why it is that you would like to be our city sergeant.
Good evening, Honorable Council and other well-wishers. My name is Napoleon E. Askey Sr. I'm a resident of Providence. I'm a Christian. I'm married. I have 5 children. And I'm a community-based person. As far as my education status is concerned, I graduated from high school in Africa and I attended 2 years of social work studies at CCRI. After that, I was able to work with the kids with mental disability and mentally challenged at Evergreen Center in Massachusetts, Milford. I rose to the ranks and file of that organization, and I went as far as assistant teacher. I served as supervisor for so many years over there, making sure that the kids' mental health needs are being taken care of, the ADL, daily living, the recreational, and taking data on the day-to-day activities and submitting it to my supervisor. And the job I love to do because I was there helping those kids. And I worked there with honor and respect for the kids that I work with. A full graduate of the Liberia Police Academy, that graduated from there. I was recruited by the city of Monrovia, Liberia. And then I went to Police Academy, I graduated from there. I was assigned with the Lord Mayor of the city. So all my life, I've been community-based. I've been working with the city. From the age of 16, my aunt that reared me became the first mayor of Tottenham City in Liberia. And during the evening hours, there were no more communication, so I had to take her to the city hall because she was not able to get the chauffeur. So I did that, so I grew up that. So then, looking at it, I came back after the police academy, right back to City Hall. And then I was privileged to go from community base to community base, and then finally, I worked with the Bright Smiling Camp. And what really gave me the courage is when I came in the business that was conducted here in the room over there, that took my mind back so many years for what I used to do. I did a lot of international policing studies. In fact, they were one of them that brought me to this country. So I'm confident with the relationship that over the years that I have with City Hall, with the mayor and the council member, I will be able to effectively and efficiently carry out my duty as the city sergeant. I know the city sergeant, and I'll be serving as a messenger, take instruction from the mayor and the city council. I'm willing, I'm able to follow instructions. I'm a disciplinarian. I'm not gonna be a disciplinarian here. You guys will have to discipline me now if I step on the line. But what I'm trying to say here is that I work with pride and dignity, and I have respect for constituted authority. So being the city sergeant, I promise with your help, I will do the best to make sure that I carry all my duties as a son. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Committee members, any questions, comments?
I'll say a comment. I don't really have any questions, but I know Napoleon for a long time. And he's gonna get in trouble because he didn't mention his wife, Jackie. So Jackie, and I'm putting this on record, Jackie, because he didn't mention you once. I was listening. And didn't say it. So I'm trying to save you from home, Napoleon.
Thank you very
And
much.
I've known both of them very well. They're both involved.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
They're both involved in the
Right
community.
here with me, she had been, in fact, she introduced me to all of the officials.
No, they're a powerhouse in the
She
city.
helped me work with a lot of other outgoing mayors, Attorney General, and all of these people, so. But as I said.
And you didn't mention her.
Yeah, I know.
He's in trouble.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, thank you very much for that.
But I've known Napoleon and his wife very much, and I can highly recommend it.
Wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to working with you. Just a couple of formalities before you start, but thank you so much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you, man.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved. You're moving on. to-
Take her out to eat, then you'll be all set.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm never gonna repeat that.
Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 7?
Item number 7, communication from His Honor the Mayor dated February 13, 2023, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to sections 302B and 1102 of the Providence Home Rule Charter of 1980, as amended, and Public Law Chapter 4550, sections 1 through 31st, passed in 1987, he is this day appointing Adewale T. Akimbi of 8 Eastern Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02908, as a member of the Board of License for a term to expire on January 31st, 2026, and respectfully submits the same for your approval. Mr. Akimbi replaced Mr. Newton, whose term expired.
Mr. Kennedy, if you would be so kind as to come to the table and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Swear on the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
Please state. For the record.
I don't want to kill you.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
if you would be so kind as just to give us a little of your background, a little bit about that, and why you want to serve on the board of licenses.
So my name is Adewale Tiakimbi. I go by Wole. I am Providence native, born and raised here, primary, secondary school education locally. Went to the Met High School, got my associate's degree from CCRI, public and professional communications degree from Rhode Island College. I've been involved in civic engagement since I was 14 years old. I've been working since I was 14 years old, all here, half a block away when Brownwood Providence's office, which is now Brownwood, Rhode Island, was right here on Washington Street. That was my first summer job, and I've been working ever since. The reason why I want to be on this board is to challenge myself and to learn and to be educated on everything that it has to do with licensing. For the majority of my life, I've been focused on youth development and paying it forward to the young people in our city because I had a great deal of adult mentors that poured into me from a very young age and made sure that I didn't veer off of my path. And to be able to, they just blessed me with opportunities, camps, after school programs, you know, helping me get jobs when I was in college so I didn't have to worry about cash, those types of things. So it's in my core, it's one of my core values to educate the folks that are not in the position that I am in. And, you know, currently I'm a Smith Hill resident. I've been in Smith Hill since I was 12 years old. I've been in that community for almost 20 years. And I am the moderator, well, I am one of the founders of the Smith Partners Initiative that serves as the neighborhood association for the Smith Hill neighborhood. And I've been running those meetings, we meet monthly. And I've been running those meetings for the last 7.5, almost 8 years. And that group is just stakeholders, residents, business owners, agencies that work with the residents that live in our community, agencies like Sojourner House, Providence Community Health Centers, the Capitol Hill branch, Smith Hill Library, you know, Councilwoman Graves is like my great aunt. But we all come together once a month to talk about ways that we can better the lives and the quality of life of the people that live in Smith Hill. And I want to continue that work from a different standpoint. You know, the youth development stuff, I know what that takes. I know what it takes to be a mentor. I know what it takes to facilitate meetings with very angry neighbors who come together to, you know, argue about rat abatement, noise complaints, trash, whatever. So this would be a great opportunity for me to learn about more technical things on the business side, being somebody that works for small business from my 9-to-5 employment. And also we have a lot of really amazing small businesses that do have licenses from the city that operate as, you know, entertainment venues. And I want to be a resource to them. I want to be fair and just for anybody that comes before the board during my tenure and during my appointment. And yeah, I could talk forever, so I'll shut up.
All right, committee members, questions? Go ahead, Councilor
You
Sanchez.
said Wale?
Wole.
I just want to make a quick comment. I think if we get more people like yourself on boards and civically engaged, I think our city will be in very good hands. I'm very excited to hopefully appoint you to this board.
Appreciate that,
Thank you.
Councilman. Thank you, Councilor Sanchez. Appreciate it.
Councilor Randall.
I'll echo that. You seem amazing. So thank you so much for stepping up to do this. I know board of licenses is like a difficult and thankless job. And it sounds like, thank you for standing up to do this. Just a quick, super fast question. I think we might just have like a bad photocopy of your resume. Under facilitator, community liaison, just to check the box. So we asked, like, where do you work? Your resume says.
I work for a small business called Half Full LLC.
Okay.
And our office is in Smith Hill. It's actually on Smith Street. And the founder of Half Full grew up in Smith Hill, as did I, but obviously 2 generations apart.
Yeah.
She grew up on Zone Street. I grew up on Goddard Street. And even how we got connected was like divine, universal energy type stuff.
Thanks. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's my only real question.
Okay. I would just like to say thank you so much. We had an opportunity to speak on the phone today. I appreciate that. And I agree, we need good representation on our boards and our commissions. And it's very, very important, I think, for us to have someone with your experience in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
Because what's missing, I think, in my opinion, on some of our boards and commissions is the neighborhood perspective. Representing the people that live in the neighborhood, not only the businesses and the light, the people who need the licenses, but it's also the impact of those businesses on the quality of life in the neighborhoods. And so it seems to me that you have just exactly the right qualifications to represent, a group that may not have a voice on that board right now. And so, and I also can see that you have excellent leadership skills. You teach it. You teach leadership skills, and I can see that you will get up and running and be an active voice on that board. So I'm very much looking forward to working with you.
As am I. Thank you.
With that, I have a motion.
Make a motion that we approve.
A second.
A motion to approve made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Please read item number 8.
Item number 8, communication from His Honor the Mayor dated February 17, 2023, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to sections 302B and 1004 of the Providence Home Rule Charter of 1980 has amended and Public Law Chapter 4550, sections 1 through 31st, passed in 1987. He is this day appointing Stephen L. Grace II of 300 Front Street, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, 0260, to the position of Director of the Department of Recreation, and respectfully submits the same for your approval.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Hello,
Thank
good
you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Great, we'll swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. You swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
That's right.
And please state your name for the
My name
record.
is Stephen Chris.
Mr. Grace, thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and about why you want to be the Director of Recreation.
Again, my name is Stephen Grace. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, and I've been back and forth to Providence, Rhode Island for the last 20 years as I attended and graduated from Johnson & Wales University. One of the reasons, I was interested in the Director of Recreation position when it was presented to me is because I have a very diverse work history with a diverse skill set that has led me to believe that that skill set has prepared me to be a great Director of Recreation. I've worked in the finance industry. I've worked in education. I've run a small business. I've worked in small social media marketing analytics. I've also worked in business intelligence. And I think this skill set is what the Recreation Center needs right now to make sure that you can use all resources available to provide equity and access to the kids that really deserve it in the neighborhoods. And that's really why I want to, be the Director of Recreation. I think that skill set is going to help me do that and all.
Questions from the committee? Well, I can start. Your resume is very impressive. Could you just talk a little bit about your current position, coordinator of student support, and what you do in that capacity?
Providence Public Schools, that's an interesting story. I was working in Boston Public Schools, and I was one of the people that read the Johns Hopkins reports and volunteered to come here. I thought that I could really impact, the district with what I tend to be one of my core competencies, which is system and process improvement. So what I did for Providence Public Schools was I was working on a number of projects. At the time when I got there was nobody with attendance in their title in the district. And so I volunteered to create a committee to work on the attendance initiative that will be introduced in the next start of the school year. So that involved the, revitalizing the entire attendance intervention strategy with more preventative measures in place, as well as the intervention measures that would be put in place and incorporating the technology to do so, automated notifications, more communication with parents, collaborating with community organizations to do that, and really addressing a lot of the barriers to education that the students face. Some of them being food insecurity, access equity, things that we mentioned prior to this. And then I also was in charge of rewriting the attendance policy. It hadn't been revised since 2018, and we needed to make sure that it was up to date and met the needs post-COVID and post-pandemic of the families that we were serving in the community. So that involved a lot of collaboration between departments to be able to do that. And so coordinating student support meant collaborating with all the departments in Providence Public Schools. So I worked with the data team. I worked with, the cabinet. I worked with, FACE. I worked with guidance teams. I worked with individual schools. And one of the things I did was, prior to putting together any plan, I made sure I went to all 41 schools, talked to all 41 attendance teams, surveyed them, got the input, went on community walks, went into the community, asked the community what they needed, got that input, and then built a plan and built 2 teams to really implement the plan. One being a governance team to, just make sure that the regulation and policy were followed, and then a team that was made from the school individuals, a parent, students, and community members to review the intervention policy and measures so that they felt that would be the best way to attack, attendance intervention in Providence Public Schools. So that's what I was doing while I was there.
And that's impressive. Just gonna say, and have you done a tour of the rec centers?
Yes. It's kind of, one of the things that I do before I make any decisions or put a plan in place. I've gone to and talked to every single recreation center director. I've also talked to folks in the community. I've been to community events. I've been to some of the council members' community events to kind of listen to what the expectations are for the rec center. I loved what I heard. And one of the things that I'm hearing specifically from all the comments that I've got, I've not heard anyone talk about, we need more sports or basketball, right? The community's asking for more. And I think that's something that I would love to do, because I think the community deserves more in terms of social, emotional, mental health, right? Health and wellness, and programs that can support that, as well as athletics. And being in a school, that was something that I had to always focus on. I've coached for many years. I coached in Boston Public Schools, and that's why I got into education. When I noticed that my players weren't showing up to practice, and it wasn't to, create a system of, consequence for them, I needed to find out why. And a lot of those whys were things that we can actually address. We just weren't doing it from a coach's perspective, right? And so that's what initially got me into education as a volunteer, a substitute, a paraprofessional, a dean, a director, and then coming to Providence Public Schools. And I've stuck with it ever since.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, go ahead, Councilor Sanchez.
Well, thank you, Stephen. I've met you a couple of times and echo the chairwoman's comments about your resume. It's very impressive. And I'm glad that you touched on a little bit of like what motivates you to give back to different communities, our students, most importantly. It's very admiring to see someone like you be so motivated and ambitious. Just my quick question, comment, like what would you like to see with our Department of Recreation? I know you probably only have a couple of weeks on the job, but like, what's your vision? What are your goals? What are you looking to accomplish?
So, initially, and from listening to the community, one of the things that I noticed is that the community mentioned a lot of services and programs that they would like to see, some of which already exist. They just didn't know about it. So one of the first things I want to do is work on the communication and current communication, meaning social media and other platforms, so that we can let the community know some of the good work that is being done in the recreation centers. With that, and I did that in Providence Public Schools, and one of the things that I did was I always invited folks to either go on community walks or to utilize our resources to bring attention to events, because when people see the good work that's happening, they tend to want to get involved. And so that would be one of the first things that I would do, is make sure that the community and collaborate with the council, because there's amazing events that need to be featured, right? And need to be out there more, so that we can get more interest and input, funding, resources to be able to give the rec centers the services and programming that they need to. That would be the first thing I would do to increase the communication. Second thing I would do is work on, finding the experts in the community and not pretend that we're the expert in everything. So collaborate more and find out what those resources are and who wants to work with recreation centers and kids and kind of fit and mesh with our mission and vision to be able to provide excellent servicing. And one of the things that I noticed working in education is that I was fantastic with kids, right? If you put me in front of a student, like I'm great, but then they go home to their circumstance. And so I had to think a little bit further, and what can a recreation center do strategically in the community where we're placed to not only affect the child, but their circumstance at home? Can we provide programming and services to not only uplift the child, but their family as well? And so I would like to focus on that and work with organizations to be able to, make ourselves available for programming that's, similar to that. So an example would be if I have a child that's going to participate in a basketball program, maybe I should be in a financial literacy boot camp or home ownership boot camp. So that I'm now having a conversation with my family that can generationally affect us. And so those are some of the things that I would like to work on. There's a few other goals, but I know it might have much time.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hancock.
Super quick question. I also just want to echo both the chairwoman and Councilor Sanchez's excitement. It seems like you're going to be amazing. But willing, no, I'm just kidding. But it sounds like you're going to be amazing in this role. You already have been, bring a lot of experience and enthusiasm. Councilor Sanchez asked my main question, but I guess my other question is, what are some of the challenges you're already seeing, both in terms of how you want to deliver the services, but also maybe even the physical infrastructure you're inheriting in the rec centers?
I think that what I've noticed in the first 5 weeks is that we have to improve our infrastructure. And I use this as an example. I say this, before I go out into the community, I want to make sure my home is in good order, right? And so that's what I've been focusing on the first 5 weeks. For example, I've been working with Oscar about the recreation usage forms, right? So, and what that looks like. So my first task is converting a lot of the paper processes to electronic forms. And giving my folks the tools to actually do that and utilize it so that we can have a comprehensive system in the rec center that all folks would know what's going on in the rec center, where it's happening, who's the programming, and I can get that online and live, right, in real time. So updating our infrastructure, we have been working with IT. We know that it's been approved to update the Wi-Fi in all the centers. And with that is going to come the use of technology and the ability to share and do more with the community based on the technology that's needed to do so. We've also been working on or developing plans to train the staff, right? We want our directors to, that are interacting with children every day to have the tools that they need to be the support structure that the community needs. So training and development of staff is going to be important as well. Not only for the technology, but for the diverse community that they serve and the issues that come along with that.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments? I wanted to recognize the lead Councilor Gonzalez for this. Thank you so much for your time. With that, may I have a motion?
Make a motion we approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made to approve by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Vanderploeg. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Well, thank you so much. We really look forward to it. Okay, with that, we are going to move back to our order on the agenda. Madam Clerk, please read item number 1.
Item number 1, an ordinance of the City of Providence approving contractual arrangements with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, RIIB, for RIIB to provide up to $27,500,000 in funding to make certain improvements to the Providence water distribution system and appurtenances thereto, including but not limited to the replacement of public and private site lead service, and approving the financing thereof by the issuance of water revenue bonds and notes, therefore, in an amount not to exceed $27,500,000. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. All right, and who do we have here this evening to present? Oh,
it's three of us from Providence Water.
Oh, great. We'll swear you in. Thank you so much for coming.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and pronounce perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. And please state your name.
Rick Jason from Providence Water.
I'm Nancy Carollo, Senior Finance Manager.
Kathy and I do.
Thank you so much. Have a seat. Who would like to start tonight?
Well, first, that was a tough act to follow, so. I kind of wish we went first now. I got a quick, we were here a few weeks ago, but it's kind of a dovetails into that, but I gotta make a quick preamble, hopefully it answers some of your questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions after that. First of all, thank you for the opportunity tonight. In 2021, the bipartisan infrastructure law, also known as the Infrastructure Investment in Infrastructure and Jobs Act, allocated $15 billion for lead services for the entire country. Probably the state of Rhode Island will get about approximately 1% of that, which is roughly about 140 million. The funding gets distributed to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, and then from the Infrastructure Bank, they send it out to all the utilities throughout the state. The funding will be released over the next 5 years, so that 140 million will be sent out in 5 year, each 5-year tranches. This particular here is our approval. We're looking for approval for our first tranche of 27.5 million. That'll be used for public and private side services. With that, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Myself, I'm Greg Jason. I'm the executive engineer of Providence Water. This is Nancy Perillo. She's the senior manager of finance, and Kathy Mello, who's the chief of technical services. So hopefully we get the rest to answer any questions you might have.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear, so that there's going to be 5 tranches of money that
Yeah,
are
so
coming out every 5 years?
So for the next 5 years, every year, they're gonna put out 1/5 of that 140 million.
Okay.
So I think it's roughly about 28 million. We're asking for 25 of it. As we're the largest utility in the state, it makes sense.
And it's coming through the
The Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, correct? Yeah.
Okay.
So usually each state gets what's called state revolving fund money, and they're just using that model to distribute money to utilities.
And can you just tell me again, for the first year, for the first tranche, that's 27.5 million, exactly what projects as best you can tell, what projects are you focused on?
It's public and private side led services. As we talked, we were here a few weeks ago, we brought a program manager on. That was what we came here for. And so once we get that program manager on board, we'll start working on, we're gonna do public and private side led services throughout our retail distribution area. So we have retail customers in Providence, Cranston, North Providence, Johnston, and Smithfield. But we'll probably start in Providence in the first year. The money has to be used in disadvantaged zones that are defined by the state of Rhode Island.
Great. Committee members, questions? Yes. Councilor Taylor.
Just quickly, how much would you figure in Providence do we need? If you had a wish list and said, okay, we need this much to replace all of that, how much do you think it would be?
So I can give you, I can't give you exactly ballpark for our entire system.
We're Providence only.
Just Providence?
Yeah.
I want to say maybe 50 to 60 million, but I could get you that number off the top of my head. All told, we're going to need about 130 million, all told, to do this, both public and private.
For the communities that are serviced by
Providence Water, yes.
Okay. Do you have anyone? All right, Councilor Vanderbilt.
Thank you for coming back. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I had 2 quick comments and then a question. One, I'm really excited about this, and I'm really glad that you emphasized again the public and the private, because the big holdup for a lot of people has been that Grid currently offers loans, no interest loans, but still loans for you to do your private side, and most people still can't do that. So I'm excited that you guys have grants for both public and private side. It sounds
Correct.
like. Yep. And then I think we talked last time about the opportunity to like cluster, to work with that project manager. So I'm just saying this all again, just to make sure, that work with the project manager to cluster where you were doing it. So it's not like a one-off here, one-off here, one-off here, and then
Right.
we're tearing up the roads, like,
That's a goal.
yeah.
That's a goal.
And the opportunity to also really focus, particularly on like our multifamily and low income residents who haven't been able to take advantage of this in the past.
Good.
And then the technical question I have, if this is authorizing borrowing from RIB, RIB isn't here. Like, is there anything where RIB needs to, is RIB gonna have to come back in, or is
No.
this just a done deal
Just
that
a
you can
replacement.
just like go out?
Yeah, we have to get-
It's all set.
We have to get certain requirements in order to borrow from RIB, and jump in if I misspeak here. So we have to, it's in our rates, so we have that already. And then we have to get city council approval. We have to get our own board approval. And
Then we have to go to the public utility, the division of
The
public
division.
utilities and governments.
yes, and then get their approval, they approve our borrowing.
Great.
And then once those are all in place, we can ultimately close on that loan.
Oh, great.
the
And there's
construction
no
act.
like hold up RIB can put in once you go through all those.
No,
You're-
no.
Okay, cool.
We're still trying to get everything. They haven't approved on their board yet, but we need to get our approvals first.
Thank you.
Councilor Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my question, like, can you explain for maybe anyone listening, like, why this has to go through council, like,
I have to go to city council.
yeah,
Because the water board has no authority to borrow on its own. We are technically listed as an enterprise fund of the city of Providence, and the city of Providence borrows on our behalf. All borrowing is done by the city on behalf of Providence Water are supported by revenue generated at the water board strictly to repay those loans. You borrow, but the onus is on us to raise the revenue to pay those bonds.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Thank you so much for all the work that you do. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but is there any data with regards to what neighborhoods have been disproportionately impacted and where those resources will flow initially, or is that?
Not yet, like,
Premature?
not yet. We're gonna, like we said, we'll bring on the program manager, and obviously the disadvantaged areas that we want to service first. But we also need to factor in what's been paid, where's the biggest cluster of lead services. We're trying to get our biggest bang for the buck. But the hope is, when it's all said and done, we'll have 0 lead services left. We're done.
And
That's the goal.
to piggyback on that, is there a specific allocation of this 27.5 million that will be allocated specifically to Providence, or is that yet to?
Probably, again, this is no guarantee, but we'll probably spend the majority, if not all, in Providence the first year. But we also have to reach out to stakeholders, the city council, any of the members of the community. We want to get engaged with them as well too.
Is there a way that we can have a report on that and, as you get further along in the
Absolutely.
process?
Absolutely.
I don't know how we calendar that. But if I can ask you to contact us.
Yeah, we-
when you do a
absolutely.
Report, that'd be really good for us to have you back and so we can see how you're doing and what they're, answer some of these questions that.
And that benefits us to know that the program's out there and get more engagement. As we talked about last time, even with our grant program, where we're still offering grant, we still have times where we can't get to customers' homes. They just don't let us in the house. So any help and outreach would be welcome, for sure.
I'm sure we'd love to help you or our council staff to do that too. if you have any issues.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Councilor Sanchez.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but what's the timeline for this? Like, when are we gonna see construction happening?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we still gotta go to the division for the borrowing. Best guess, probably July, August timeframe, because we gotta borrow, we've gotta get the program manager, we've gotta hire the contractors. So that takes time.
Right.
So, and like I said, it'll be concentrated in neighborhoods. So, I mean, we try to minimize disruption, but we'll try to work it so there's minimal disruption, but still getting work done.
Any more questions? We have a motion?
I'll make the motion this time.
Step up to the plate.
I feel like Jim always does it, so I want that we approve the bond for Providence Water.
Second.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilor Anderbaugh, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. Is there any discussion? I don't think there is, so let's have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully I don't go after those aggressive people next time.
I just assumed you like to do it, so I feel like you do.
Guys do to me.
Yeah. I feel like for some reason, I was like, oh, Jim just likes this. I'm like, why do we always say Jim do all those things?
Okay, Madam Clerk, item number 2.
Item number 2, resolution authorizing approval of the following amendment and clarification of the award for design builder DB for Espaciano Annex Elementary School by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 21-26B1 and 4, ONG Industries INC Public Property, $41,276,020.
Thank you. Who do we have here? Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Jonathan Martin, Director of Public Property here, and Amanda Ponarelli, Deputy Director of Public Property, Joe Sane from Gas Construction.
Come right up. We'll swear you in. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
And you already stated everyone's names.
Thank you so much for coming. Who would like to kick us off tonight on this item?
Well, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'll tee it up. We have 4 items on the docket tonight, so if it's acceptable, I think we can tackle the first 3 as one group, as they're all related to school construction.
Okay,
If that's acceptable.
all right, let me, that would be fine. So why don't we have a motion, I think, to discuss items number 2 through 4
Yes, Madam Chair.
together?
So moved.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we had a motion made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Angelbaum to discuss these, although I think we will discuss them together, but we will vote on them separately. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So before I turn it over to Amanda and Joe, excuse me, Madam Chair, before I turn it over, if you'll recall, we were here, I think it was about a month ago, reference school construction, what is really a clerical error in terms of when they went through the process. Just the first phase was included, just the amount for the first phase of the project is what went through the Board of Contract Supply process. So that's why we're back here again for these 3 school construction projects. I'll let Amanda Ponarelli elaborate a little bit more on that. And then Mr. DeSanti will go ahead and give us an update on those three projects. And we have slides for the record that we could submit.
I would love to have those distributed if we can do that now. I'd like to have those marked as an exhibit.
Okay.
To distribute them.
Just a quick question.
Thanks, Joe.
Is it possible in the future to get these in advance so we can review materials ahead of time?
Absolutely.
Okay, I make a motion to have the capital school construction update, committee on finance, March 7, 2023 presentation marked as exhibit 1. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So the motion is made by Councilor Anibal, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. Okay, please.
So for item number 2, the Spaziano, it's a project that's well underway. And we noticed that it was competitively bid, but it only does the design portion when the Board of Contract and Supply. They didn't include the trade cost, so this is just bringing it to the full award of 41 million.
Okay, if you would just break that down for me. So the design, the first bid was for how much?
The total cost of the project is 41 million, and the design portion of it was 4.7 million, which went to Board of Contract and Supply. And they failed to include 35 million of trade costs.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch up here because, so what you're saying is when the first bid went out, it was for the design phase, and that was 4.7 million. And now we have a new resolution that is looking for 41. 27620.
The project was, it was competitively bid design build, which is where there's an architect and a contractor together. So there was a clerical error when it went through Board of Contract and Supply, and it failed to include the build portion.
Okay, so the total of the project, so I understand, is the 41.
Yeah.
27620.
Yes.
Okay, and where are you with this project right now? Is this just you need to have this money through so you can begin construction?
No, it's well underway. It's into construction. We're actually getting into steel, construction of steel, so it's ongoing. And
Just, if we can have more of an explanation of where you are with regard to this project, I'd appreciate it.
So I could step in,
Thank you.
the manager. So actually, if you go to probably page 5, it says Spaziano Elementary School, Middle School. The next page shows the steel, it says Spaziano 2K5. So currently, the project is actually supposed to fly about a week old. The steel is being erected right now, foundations are in place, and we have masons that are going to be commencing work. And if you go to the next page, you'll see the foundation work and the concrete floors that are being installed as well.
I'm gonna open, I have many questions, so I'm gonna open it up to the committee.
Yeah, I guess I'm along the same correct line as what, wait, were you pointing at me? I just started asking.
I'm
I was like, I understand.
Counselor Anderson.
Sorry about that. No, that was rude of me. I'll wait for you to recognize me. Along the same lines that Chairwoman Anthony was asking, so it was approved at 4.7 million for design. But the Board of Contract and Supply, can you just talk through, like, what did the Board of Contract and Supply approve? And if they only approved the design phase, how are we in the building?
So when we, if you will, so when we bid the project out with the RFP, we did it as a design build with a control budget of 41,270,000, somewhere down there. When the bids came in, and the fees were level, it did not include what those trade costs were because the project was not completely bid. So they had a number that they had to target and meet. When it was awarded at the VOC, they took that $4.1 million and said, oh, well, that's what the project number is, even though the target number was 41 million, and failed to add those other costs to it. So all we're doing now is realigning it to what the control budget was, and making sure that we have sufficient funds now to pay for the work as it moves forward.
Process question, does that then need to go back to the Board of Contract and Supply to actually have a full approval?
I believe it does. Our auditor is not here, but I believe it does. For full approval, that's why they're here.
Yeah.
It did go. I think it did go.
Madam Chair,
Oh, it went back,
That
okay.
was the process.
Yeah.
That brought us back here, okay.
I'm sorry, one at a time.
Yeah.
All right, that's what. I'm
Sorry,
I'd
Madam
like to
Chair,
resolve-
it did go back through. That was part of the process that brought us back to you here.
Okay.
It went through the Board of Contract.
Thank you. I was a little confused on where we were with that process. Thank you so much. Okay, Councilor Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What was the timeline on that?
This was last August, was it? Yeah,
Last August?
it was quite a while ago.
And that was when you originally went before the Board of Contract.
Correct.
Okay. For the 4.1.
Well, it was supposed to be for the 41 million, but it was approved at the 4.1.
I yield my time. I'm just trying to
Councilor
formulate my
Taylor.
questions.
Just in the future, it would be easier, I think it would eliminate a lot of questions as well. Say you did the Nabucci Learning Center, and you did the construction activities, and you have everything listed, and you have it as complete, where you're going.
Mhm.
I think that would be a lot easier if you did the same with Spaziano and, the other one there, what is it, debate?
Yeah.
But you did real good on the first one, and it might have been on Monday, and then you were on Friday, I don't know what it was, but it would be easier just to look at and see where you are, so we're not asking questions that we really don't need.
Okay.
Just those two things.
So that's good feedback. These slides and this response actually comes from the construction team. We asked them to fill this out and confirm it, but that's a very good suggestion, and we'll do that on all the projects moving forward.
Thank you.
Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So my question is in regards to the pages with the amendments. So on page 2.2, the amendment for Spaziano is 35 million. And that seems like super broad, like for remaining trades, it has 8 million. And then when you look at the amendments for debate, which is half of the 30 million amendments, it's way more detailed. So what are our standards as a city that's like acceptable for amendments coming from these construction companies? Not sure if that question was clear.
Were you on 2.2?
Of our document, what came with what was publicly posted.
So the gist of the question is that there is one page here that's amended for 15 million, that's super detailed. It comes down to roof and carpentry and blocking is 74,000. But then the amendment page for Spaziano, which is more than double the 15 million, it's super broad. But what made me raise an eyebrow is remaining trades is 8 million. What exactly is remaining trades?
Remaining trades could be finishes, blinds, some carpeting, some of those kind of things, anything that doesn't fit into those major categories. So it looks like, from what I see is remaining trades, it would be those finishes. Could be painting, could be a number of those items. But I guess going back to your first question.
Yeah.
Our goal is to do what you see on the 2.3A, which is that very detailed. We do have that for the LNG amendment, but because this was done, their amendment actually was done previously because it's part of the trade scope of work. They took and summarized that. So this is a summary to the more detailed page that you see on the debate project. So regardless of what contractor is, we have a very detailed item by item based on what that scope of work is. As you can see, it says painting, it says signage, it says toilet accessories. That remaining trades summary has that detail to it on another document as well.
We don't have that.
No, because with O&G, that amendment had been done previously. With the debate project, this is a new document that just came to us recently. So they only provided us with the summary document because that's the stage they're in right now. Okay.
Question, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. Can I ask an overall question? So when we say, just looking at the more, comparing the more detailed to the less detailed, sorry, I should have looking at when I asked the question. I was just focused. It's very rude for me. Just a process question, less about this specific project, but are each of the trades bid separately? Like, is there a subcontractor for each one of those trades? Or like, how do you do that contracting for each of the different sub areas of it? And I'm just so you know, like where I'm headed, the question I'm having, we keep seeing projects, this doesn't appear to be one, that have no MBE or WB contracting. And so if there's the ability to like sub out specific smaller pieces to folks, I'm just trying to find out if there's ways to do that.
So good question. And the answer is we do require the contractors, whether it's a design build delivery method or construction management delivery method, to bid out each separate package and to reach out to the MWB community as well, because there are certain goals and regulations that they have to meet. And as you can see, and actually you'll see in my report too, I do have that information. But each one of those packages, sometimes they're combined, sometimes, you know, windows and metal siding might be one package, but they are competitively bid. Yes. Each one of them.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go way back now. We're doing a very convoluted discussion here, so sorry about that. So, brand new schools for elementary school, middle school, K through 5, is that what we're looking at in this area for Spaziano?
For Spaziano, correct.
Okay. I've asked before, but I think, you know, I'm just wondering, so, again, I would just like some clarity on the process by which you decided to do this particular project. So in other words, you know, we have all these schools, I know we're discussing 3 of them here. Can you just, somebody give me an idea of what the process was you know, in determining which schools would be constructed new, which ones would be repaired. You know, if we could just have some sort of simple construct on how that decision was made, it would really be helpful.
So I can give you a brief summary from when we were involved, which was starting in 2020. But what started off the original MOA, the 2019 MOA, which is the Memorandum of Agreement for RIDE, was a stage 1 and a stage 2 that was submitted to them. Based on our research and history of that stage 1 and stage 2, it looks like that work commenced back in 2014, 2015, 2016. Where there were a number of committee meetings, a number of meetings to determine what schools condition we're in. There was the 2017 Jacobs report that was also utilized, and all that information was gathered. And at that point, that 2019 stage 1, stage 2 was submitted, and that's where that 2019 MOA came from. And that was part of the Spaziano. At one point was going to be a K-3 school, which was going to be a small school constructed to take the place of the current Spaziano Annex. And then fast forward to 2020, which is right around the time we got involved, there were some discussions at that time with PTSD and the city and the community about that school. That school was actually designed to sit on the street, on Leaven Street, and kind of straddle both sides with having spaces to either side with a big parking lot. When we got involved, we questioned whether that was really the right thing to do as far as putting a building in the street because of so many utilities that are going through there. So we said, well, let's move the building back onto a building lot site. At that point, PPSD was in the process of reviewing their facilities and also said, well, we're not sure what we're doing with a K-8. We're not sure what that thought process was. That's a tiny little school. There's not much need for that. We want to get our kids under one building for as long as possible. So at that point is when building was moved. PPSD at that point determined that we need a different type of program. We need a bigger, larger school that serves more students. And the building was increased to that pre-K through 5 at the same time.
Right, and then in doing, just to a follow-up question, so in making those decisions, am I assuming this is the school building committee that's making these decisions?
Yeah, so what it happened through a number of professionals that also got involved. The design teams that were involved with the project also said, you know, it's in your best interest to do a larger school. It's going to be more cost effective. And the city at that time hired an educational facility planner who came in and looked at all of the facilities for PPSD and also did a review. All that information was brought back to PPSD and then ultimately back to school building committee and to the city, and everybody at that point determined that that was the right course of action.
Okay, and I'm assuming that at that point, we also had discussions about reallocating funds from different projects.
Yes, it all happened all around that same time, correct?
And are there minutes of that meeting, those meetings, do you know?
There were minutes taken. We don't hold the minutes for the PTSD, but I do recall numerous meetings there and having discussion about the MOA. And we will request those from the school building committee.
That would be great, because we just like to have, honestly, we're just looking for some transparency around the decision-making that would give us a level of comfort to, you know, be, you know, collaborative and participate in these decisions. It's just a lot easier for us to come at it when we know that there's been some full discussion on it. We just would like to be advised of that. Okay, Councilor Gonzalez.
To that end, what exactly was the clerical error?
On this correction?
Yeah.
The clerical error was that when the RFP was issued, it was for 41,276. When it was awarded at that time, the decision was made to only award based on what the fee and design costs were. And without recognizing that only did the construction managers, it did not include all those trade contractors as well. So it missed that whole 35 million, whatever that we made with that number. So that really was the error, is that when somebody read it, they issued it for just the fee portion of it and not the remaining part.
Okay, and that's so the 44 million that was reallocated to this project, was that something that was already decided or?
That had been previously decided, yeah. When we did the RFP, we already knew what that number was. And that had been pre-decided when that amendment to the MOA was done in 2021, I believe, the second amendment.
So that's based on the 2021 MOA. In the 2023 MOA, it looks like there was a approved value of 34.5 million. Does that have anything to do with the clerical error by any chance?
Are you, is that for the middle school? The
That's,
2020?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's for, because that's the most recent MOA that we have, and that's dated January 30th, 2020.
Yeah, and that's just for clarity, that's a separate MOA for 3 separate buildings. It's Spaziano Middle School versus Spaziano Elementary School, which is in the 2019 MOA.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 MOAs that are out there that confuse things, and there's gonna be a third, because we're going through the process again. So we're gonna have 3, every time we go for stage 1 or stage 2, there's a separate memorandum of agreement. So there will, in the near future, next year, there could be 3 MOAs out there that we're talking about.
Specifically for Spaziano.
No, well, Spaziano won't be on the third one, there won't be anything on there, but on the first 2, there are 2 separate Spazianos, which are 2 separate buildings.
And those have already been previously approved through the Board of Contract and Supply?
Yeah, we have not, we've only awarded the architect for the middle school, and we are actually out for an RFP right now for the construction management portion of the middle school, Spaziano right now, and Kazarian and Fogarty.
And is there any correlation between, so as I'm looking at the 2019 MOA, the original allocation for Frank Spaziano Elementary School is 3.5 million. The correlation, is there a correlation between that figure and the 4.1 million because of cost overruns? Because we saw other schools see increases, so that 4.1 million seems more aligned with what was initially proposed in 2019 MOA.
Yeah, I don't think there's any correlation. Again, I wasn't involved in 2019, but I know in 2019, there was initial MOA, and then shortly after the MOA came out, there was an amendment 1, which happened in 2019, and then the subsequent amendment 2, and there's been a subsequent number 3 as well, that's out there. So, but I'm not aware of any correlation on that at all.
So because this just feels very opaque and there doesn't seem to be a lot of information about this, I'm just curious about what would be the implications of potentially continuing this matter if the committee decided, so that we could get the minutes to your point about the reallocations for this particular project, but also just get some more clarity around the changes here.
I think from a construction standpoint, it would be significant. They have steel that's being erected right now that they're going to be looking to get paid for. There's a lot of other activities that are happening out there. We're trying to get this school open by fall of next year, and I think that at this point, it would be an impact to the schedule. They've already been calling and requesting payment, and we can't increase that PO until we get this done.
And despite not receiving the approvals from this body, is there a reason why they initiated or begun that work without having received the full funding from this body or the approval?
They proceeded based on their response to an RFP and their contract. And their contract is aligned with that 41 million versus the 4.1.
Oh, but should they have started the work if the body hasn't approved that funding? Is that a mistake?
I don't know if I would say it was a mistake. I think that's part of where the confusion was previously, is that when they responded to that RFP, they responded to a building that was $41 million, and they operated under that their contracts said $41 million. So they proceeded in good faith based on what their contract.
But unfortunately, the contract wasn't necessarily approved. So is that problematic?
I'm gonna let Mr. Mancini be sworn in and participate in this conversation.
Very good. First, we have trustee you're about to give us the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So
Lawrence J. Mancini, Chief Financial Officer, Madam Chair, members of the committee, if I may. From my perspective, this matter, each of those three matters appear before the water contract with the intention of awarding the full contract, which included the amount that you're amending this evening. It was the intention of the water contract to do that. It was later that they discovered an omission that the awarded amount was not aligned with the actual response of the bid respondents, which were already approved and scheduled to go to the water contract for that approval. Hence, the work did begin on the premise that they were awarded. It's when it was discovered by clerical error, we needed legal jurisdiction to pay those bills. So the matter before the committee this evening, while it seems somewhat, out of the ordinary, it's meant to correct what was originally intended and the authority that is necessary in order to pay bills based on the award that was in fact presented to the board of contract. The documents will reflect that they were submitted in the 41 million, 19 million, 31 million. The award letter, for whatever reason, only took out the portion associated with the design or the architecture, but it was the intention to be awarded in the full amount. There was no substitution.
Thank you so much. Yes.
This question might be for Mr. Mancini. What actions have we taken as a city to make sure a clerical error of $40 million doesn't happen again?
Thank you for the question, Councilman. I can't speak to the submission, but the Department of Public Property takes extreme pride and careful, and they're very careful in making sure that it goes through the purchasing and procurement process and meet with the division of purchases. They do go through finance to sign off on, finance signs off on making sure that the funding sources are appropriate. I think it was only a one-time, probably very rare occasion where maybe in the haste of putting together documents and it went to the clerk's office to be turned over to the water contract for that water contract, meaning that it was clearly an omission. It was not, it was left out by accident. I wrote this, it was an omission.
So that was done through the clerk's office?
Well, the letter was submitted by public property on behalf of the projects, it goes to the clerk's office. They only take whatever is put in that letter. And I believe it was just unintended, it was an omission, it was unintended.
All right, thank you.
If I may add on to
Yes,
that,
please.
Madam Chair, Councilor, add on to Mr. Mancini, answer your question. This error was discovered, to my knowledge, around the 2nd week of January, just after I had come to the office. The processes we have put in place, we have added in the Department of Public Property and with purchasing within public property, we've adjusted our cadence and added multiple new checks and balances before we even come to the Board of Contracts and Supply. So now internal, we are reviewing, going through the numbers prior to doing a pre-board with the internal auditor. Once we go through the internal auditor, we go through then the Board of Contract and Supply. So with the internal processes we have added over the last 30 days, I do not believe that this type of error would happen again under my watch as the Director of Department of Public Property.
And Madam Chair,
That's exactly what I want to hear.
And that's what they say, it never hasn't happened before. So I would submit to you in the committee that it was probably, as the Director Mama said, probably in the haste, maybe in the transition, there was multiple segments of documents, but I can assure you that it was the intention to be awarded in the full amount, because these projects had critical time elements to move forward. And credit to the Public Property Department was the same thing. They had this tonight to correct the record so that the legal authority that was intended now exists and only pay bills to keep the project on track. And I would ask the committee to take that into consideration.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mancini. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Counselor, sorry, I didn't recognize you. So we have Counselor Vargas here this evening.
Thank you, Madam
so
Chair.
much for coming.
I got a question for the director, for Tim. William, the very task on my work. According to these photos, it's going to be look like this when they finish. And building the right sidewalks, brand new sidewalks, and the front of the building, that's almost the last.
Yeah, that's the intent. These are renderings right now, so they look very similar, but yes, that's to bring more glass in, the streetscape and all that stuff, yes.
Because I have a bunch of poles, yellow poles in the sidewalk, and this sidewalk on the right-hand side is kind of narrow, the way it looks now. According to this photograph, it's going to be a good size sidewalk. So I'm wondering if it's going to be according to the picture.
Yeah, I don't know about the opposite side of the street. Again, it's a rendering just to show what the outside of the building will look like. So
Right.
this is just an artistic rendering of it. I can give you the specific scope of work. I know, for example, that sidewalk on the right-hand side will not be done because that's off property, which means we would not get reimbursed for doing that work. So anything that would be inboard within the school property would be.
So in the future case, don't take pictures and don't do anything like this, because I will go to my constituents and say, look, you're getting a brand new from the school and showing a picture. And then when you guys come and cut the ribbon, they say, hey, consummate, you lied to us, because see our sidewalk, it's not done. And it's something that for the future use, like, if we're going to show something in photograph and picture, I would like to be the truth at the end of the day, like, to be more clarified. And if I can get at least, because I see the minority work hours, 1769.
Yeah, that's only with abatement and demolition right now. That's where we are with that project.
Okay, and what is the 44%?
44% is being done by Providence residents,
Province resident, and the 74%?
are being done by minority workers. Now, the minority and Providence residents could be the same. So that's 74%, 44% could be one of the same.
Mhm. You don't mind if I get a list of the minority companies who's working there?
No, not at all.
Oh, so please provide me that. Sure. And thank you very much.
You're welcome. Other questions, comments?
I just want to thank you for the extraordinary work that you're doing. I know how critically important it is to get this work done. So I just want to share that because I think it's really important. I went to the building committee meeting this past or last week, and it's great to just see the projects that are in the pipeline and how they're going to benefit the students in the city of Providence. So thank you for all the work.
And I will make another clear. I know we are going to be working together on these projects. And again, I realize that you come before public property, you come before us quite often. But we would really, really appreciate some sort of meeting to discuss the history that you just gave us so kindly, with the MOUs, how some different decisions were made. I mean, if we could just have some sort of understanding. I don't know whether that might be a separate meeting when you're ready, whether you talk to your partners in the PPSD and RIDE, but if we could have some sort of presentation, a comprehensive presentation on how the decisions were made. And because we have more money that we're going to spend on our schools, and we really would like to know how it was that these schools were chosen and why it was they were chosen, and how that differs from the original MOU. And if you could come back to us with a date by which you could do that, we'd be so appreciative. We could convene I don't know, it might be a council as a whole, or it might be another committee member, within a committee, but we would be so appreciative if you might consider doing that so that we can all be on the same page.
Acknowledge, Madam Chair, yes, we'll coordinate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I did ask for us to have separate votes. Yes, please. Councilor Anderson.
Just a super fast thing. I'm really glad, thanks for including this last slide. This is really helpful on the one that Councilman Vargas just walked through. It was really helpful to see per project, like Providence, NDE, female hours, and really sad, those are all zeros, but we can work on that. And the apprenticeship hours, those are really helpful. So just as a thank you for that, it's really great.
Okay, so we can start with agenda number, which one? Just the first one? Two? Yes.
The motion we approve number 2.
Second. A motion to approve made by Councilor Taylor, second by Councilor Ingram. Any discussion on the motion?
With gratitude to Mr. Mancini, that was really helpful. Outside discussion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Matter passes. The next item is item number 3.
Item number, item number 3, resolution authorizing approval of the following amendment and clarification of the award for design builder VP for the Abate Elementary School by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 2126B1 and 4. Albert Construction Company, public property, $19,327,000.
Okay, we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve
Motion
by
to approve, second.
Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, now passes. Thank you. Now, item number 4.
Item number 4, resolution authorizing approval of the following amendment to the award for design builder for the Narducci Learning Center by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 2126B4. Bacon Construction Company, public property, $31,821,583.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion made, motion to approve by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Ingersoll. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, it passes.
Item number 5, resolution authorizing approval of the following change order contract award by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 21-26B4. Studio Media Architecture LLC, DBA Signal Works, public property, $142,500.
Waiver, are you presenting on this?
Yes, Madam Chair, I can give the details on this one.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is for Signal Works is a project for women's bathrooms at 5 fire stations. Those fire stations are Allens Avenue, Brook Street, Messer Street, Mount Pleasant Avenue, and Reservoir Avenue. It's to add women's bathrooms to those fire stations, which include, toilets, sinks, showers, to accommodate the women firefighters at those stations. So the amount for you, $142,500, is for the construction of those women's bathrooms. We're here before you to explain a change order for $62,500 associated with this project. So the background of the project, it's a CIP allocation of $850,000. An award for $80,000 was given to Signal Works in May 2022 as an MPA piggyback based on a proposal to cover a feasibility study and later design services. So the original award was for $80,000, and that number was decided as just an estimate of 10%, a little less than 10% of $850,000. So that's how that number of $80,000 for original award was come to. In June 2022, Signal Works completed the feasibility study, and that was $33,250. So they did the feasibility study. Then they moved on and provided a proposal to do the design. After doing the feasibility, they moved on to do the design, and the cost for that will be $109,250. So we needed to request a change order for $62,500, so that we can cover not just the feasibility, but also the design of the bathrooms for those fire stations. Moving forward, we think that the project will be able to complete it after the design is complete. It'll go out to bid for construction, and we think that the construction will be able to be completed well within the budget, the remaining budget of $707,500. And some of your questions.
I'm just going to go through the numbers one more time. So the
Yes, ma'am.
total amount of the project is
$850,000 is allocated in the CIP
for the women's bathrooms.
for 5 women's bathrooms at the 5 fire stations.
These bathrooms, can you talk about them?
So they're gonna be, since it is a firehouse, it's gonna have, no, it really, sinks, toilets, showers. So since it's a firehouse, it's able to accommodate the women firefighters, just like the men's firefighters. Now, I don't have the designs, I can submit the blueprints to you, Madam Chair, but it's just what you would expect in a, your standard bathroom with
No
With showers.
bidets. There's no bidets.
Yeah.
Mr. Mancini, would you like to say something?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, again, the clarification, thank you, Director Mom, Director Palmer. On your docket, item 5, at least the total amount of the contract will be, with your approval this evening of an amendment. That amendment would be 62,500 because the water contract has already approved the first 80,000. What I respectfully submit to you this evening that we're voting on a change of 62,500 to equal the full contract of 120,000.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini.
Okay, Councilor Taylor.
Thank you. Just a quick question. You said that price was as of June. Are we locked in now, even though it's 8 months later? Or does that price gonna go up?
I'll have to get an answer to all that. Council.
Larry, do you know that by chance? No, it's, you said that price for was 850 by, as of June of 2022.
Sorry.
Well, I'm talking 8 months, so I know how things, my water park doubled in 8 months, so.
I'm sure the directors can get, I'll have to get that answer for you, Council.
We don't have, this is just the design portion. We don't have a contractor yet to do the actual construction.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, Councilor Sanchez.
So that was kind of my question, for clarity. So we pay, or we're trying to pay, a vendor $140,000 to see the possibility and design a bathroom and 5 fire stations?
To do the design, they did the feasibility study and then to do the design. So it would have been the feasibility study, which they already completed, and this is the design. Total takes it to 142,500. Yes, Council.
So,
Thanks, that's expensive.
so my, just a quick follow-up question. We don't have anyone in the city that does this type of work internally?
Not to my, no, Council.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Anderson.
Two super quick questions. So will all the firehouses now then have women's bathrooms, or will there still be firehouses without women's bathrooms?
To my understanding, Councilor, off that the other 5 or the 10, they already have them. So this is to close the gap so they will all be equipped to accommodate women firefighters.
Okay. And as part of the design, so these are adding new bathrooms, not just renovating old bathrooms that were men's bathrooms, so it's like a substantial change to the buildings.
It varies from project to project, yes.
For the men, I don't know if you've ever been in a women's room that's converted to men's room, but it's normally like there's a urinal with a potted plant in it, so like, there's some really bad former buildings that have women's rooms that are really just men's rooms with potted plants in the urinals.
All I see is selfies when women's going to take the selfies, so I'm like, I can't figure that out.
But it does, yeah, so if it is like a substantial rebuild to add like a new room, that is a pretty big addition. Okay.
And just to clarify, this is part of the CIP, this project?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Vargas.
Thank you. So Director, so we don't have any women's bathroom right now?
Not in these firehouses, there's not, Councilman, there's not, to my knowledge, women's bathroom in these 5, which is why we're doing the project.
Do we have fire women's working on that?
I don't have that answer, the distribution of firewomen across the city.
If I may,
Go ahead.
they have locks on the doors, so if a woman goes in to take a shower, she'll lock it. Or if it'll say women, they have a little slide thing, I think, on the doors, women, men, in use, and then they lock the door. And they lock the door, yeah.
So all these bathrooms have showers too?
Well, I don't know which ones they're gonna fix, I don't know, like, engine 11, my ward has an upstairs bathroom and shower, and then downstairs bathroom. But that's a training academy, they never had a women's, bathroom, same with Allen's Avenue has an upstairs bathroom, and then a downstairs bathroom.
So you, thank you, Councilman. So you figure about $800,000 to do 5 bathrooms,
Yes.
$100 a piece.
How much you want to bid it, Oscar? Can you keep it?
No, I said, do we have the money secure for the job or we don't? We do.
In discussions today with the project manager, Councilman, I think it's gonna come in under that. They're averaging, it's different based on, some are a little more, some are a little less, but on average, $90,000 per, when you break up the 5. is what it is.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order for this contract.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Counselor Engelbach, seconded by Counselor Sanchez. Any discussion on the motion?
It's crazy that there's still state buildings without women's restrooms, but anyway. Glad you fixed me.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you so much for coming. Very much. Thank you, Mr. Mancini.
Motion to adjourn.
And then we adjourn.
A second.
A motion to adjourn by Counselor Taylor, seconded by Counselor Engelbach. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Thank